The Battle of Saratoga, fought in 1777. This battle marked a turning point in the American Revolutionary War and had far-reaching consequences that shaped the future of our nation. Over the next few moments, I will take you through the intricate details of this remarkable confrontation, exploring its background, key players, battles, outcomes, and lasting legacy. Background of the battle: the year 1777 was a critical juncture in the American struggle for independence. The British sought to crush the rebellion by implementing a strategic plan that involved a three-pronged attack aimed at isolating New England from the other colonies. General John Burgoyne led one of these assaults, moving south from Canada with approximately 7,500 troops. His objective was to capture Albany, New York, thereby gaining control over the vital Hudson River Valley. However, this ambitious strategy faced significant challenges. British General William Howe was tasked with advancing north from New York City, while General Barry Street Leger would march east from Lake Ontario. Unfortunately for Burgoyne, both Howe and St. Leger encountered fierce resistance from American forces and were unable to provide the necessary support. As Burgoyne advanced into New York, he initially achieved success by capturing Fort Ticonderoga in July 1777. However, this victory proved deceptive. It led him to underestimate the resolve of the American forces and overestimate his own logistical capabilities. The Americans were rallying under the leadership of General Horatio Gates and were determined to stop Burgoyne's advance. The First Battle. Freeman's Farm. The first significant clash occurred on September 19, 1777, at Freeman's Farm. The American forces numbered around 9,000 men, bolstered by local militia and sharpshooters. In contrast, Burgoyne's troops were wary from their march and outnumbered. Despite being outnumbered, Burgoyne launched an attack on American positions. The fighting was intense and brutal. Both sides suffered heavy casualties. Although Burgoyne managed to hold the field at the end of the day, he lost nearly 600 men compared to approximately 300 American casualties. More importantly, the Americans demonstrated remarkable tenacity and resilience, blunting Burgoyne's advance toward Albany. The outcome of Freeman's Farm was pivotal. It not only inflicted significant losses on Burgoyne's forces but also galvanized American morale. As reinforcements continued to arrive for Gates' army, Burgoyne found himself increasingly isolated and vulnerable. The Second Battle, Bemis Heights. The second engagement took place on October 7, 1777, at Bemis Heights. By this time, Burgoyne was desperate. His forces were low on supplies and morale was waning. He decided to launch a bold attack against the entrenched American positions. The Americans had fortified their defenses on Bemis Heights with artillery positioned to dominate the surrounding area. As Burgoyne initiated his assault, he encountered fierce resistance led by General Benedict Arnold, who had been sidelined previously but took command in key moments during this battle. Arnold's aggressive tactics and leadership played a crucial role in rallying American troops and launching counterattacks against the British forces. The battle raged throughout the day with intense fighting as both sides struggled for control of critical positions. Ultimately, Burgoyne's forces were overwhelmed. They could not withstand the combined might of American regulars and militia fighters who had united under a common cause. By October 17, after realizing that escape was impossible due to being surrounded by superior numbers, General Burgoyne surrendered his entire army at Saratoga, a moment that would resonate through history as a decisive victory for the Americans. Significance of Saratoga. The victory at Saratoga had profound implications. 1. Boosted morale. The success invigorated American troops and supporters alike. It instilled hope in a cause that had faced numerous setbacks. 2. Foreign alliances. Perhaps most critically, Saratoga convinced France that the American cause was viable. This led to a formal alliance between France and the United States in 1778, an alliance that would provide essential military support and resources necessary for future victories. 3. 4. Strategic shift. The defeat forced British military leaders to rethink their strategies in North America. They could no longer assume dominance over colonial forces without considering their growing capabilities and resolve. 5. Political ramifications. The aftermath of Saratoga also affected internal politics within the Continental Army. General Gates gained immense popularity following his victory, leading to attempts by some factions to replace George Washington as commander-in-chief, a plot known as the Conway Cabal. However, Washington's established leadership ultimately prevailed. This battle was not merely a confrontation between two armies. It was a turning point that dramatically changed the perception of the American army among foreign powers, particularly France. Over the next several minutes, I will explore how this remarkable event reshaped international relations and influenced the course of the American Revolutionary War. Introduction. The Battle of Saratoga consisted of two significant engagements occurring in September and October 1777. It marked a decisive victory for the American forces against the British Army led by General John Burgoyne. While military victories are often celebrated for their immediate impact on the battlefield, Saratoga's true significance lies in its ability to alter the perceptions of foreign powers regarding the viability of the American cause. Prior to Saratoga, the American struggle for independence faced skepticism from European nations. The British military had established itself as a formidable force, and many doubted whether the Continental Army could withstand such an adversary. However, following the victory at Saratoga, perceptions began to shift dramatically. Context of the battle. The state of the Revolutionary War. By 1777, the Revolutionary War had been ongoing for 2 years. The early years were characterized by mixed results for the American forces. Despite notable victories at Trenton and Princeton, many defeats, such as those at Brooklyn and Brandywine, had led to a sense of despair among both soldiers and civilians. The British held key territories, including New York City, and their military prowess seemed insurmountable. General Burgoyne's campaign aimed to cut off New England from the other colonies by advancing down the Hudson River Valley to Albany. His plan involved coordination with other British forces under General William Howe and Colonel Barry St. Leger. However, logistical challenges and a lack of support from loyalists hindered Burgoyne's efforts. The battles of Saratoga. The first engagement at Freeman's Farm on September 19 saw fierce fighting between Burgoyne's troops and those commanded by General Horatio Gates. Although Burgoyne held the field at day's end, he suffered significant casualties, nearly 600 men, while American losses were around 300. This battle demonstrated that American forces could engage effectively with British regulars. The second engagement at Bemis Heights on October 7 proved even more decisive. With Burgoyne increasingly isolated and running low on supplies, he launched an attack that ultimately failed against fortified American positions. The Americans, inspired by leaders such as Benedict Arnold, counterattacked with vigor, leading to Burgoyne's surrender on October 17. This victory resulted in the capture of nearly 6,000 British troops and marked one of the most significant turning points in the Revolutionary War. Changing perceptions among foreign powers. The French alliance. The most immediate consequence of Saratoga was its impact on France's perception of the American cause. Prior to this battle, France had been hesitant to formally ally with the colonies due to doubts about their ability to win against Britain. However, Saratoga proved that American forces could not only stand up to British troops but also achieve significant victories. Confidence in American resolve. The victory at Saratoga instilled confidence in French leaders regarding America's potential for success in achieving independence. The French government recognized that supporting the Americans could undermine their traditional rival, Great Britain, and potentially shift the balance of power in Europe. Formal alliances. Following Saratoga, French diplomats engaged with American representatives such as Benjamin Franklin and Silas Deane. In February 1778, France signed a formal treaty of alliance with the United States, pledging military support and financial aid while committing to continue fighting until American independence was secured. Military support. The French alliance brought critical resources to bear on behalf of the Americans. French military officers such as Marquis de Lafayette joined Washington's army, while French naval support helped secure vital supply lines across the Atlantic Ocean. Financial assistance. France provided essential financial backing that enabled Congress to sustain its military efforts against Britain. This support was crucial in maintaining troop morale and ensuring that soldiers received necessary supplies. Broader international implications. The impact of Saratoga extended beyond just Franco-American relations, inspiration for other nations. The success at Saratoga inspired other nations seeking independence or reform against imperial powers. Countries such as Spain and the Netherlands began to reconsider their positions regarding support for America in hopes of weakening British dominance globally. And the myriad challenges faced by the American forces during this critical engagement in 1777. This battle not only marked a turning point in the Revolutionary War, but also altered the perception of the American army among foreign powers, particularly France. Over the next several moments, I will explore the main challenges encountered by the Continental Army during this pivotal confrontation, detailing how these obstacles were navigated and ultimately overcome. Introduction. The Battle of Saratoga consisted of two major engagements. The First Battle of Saratoga, also known as the Battle of Freeman's Farm, on September 19, and the Second Battle of Saratoga, or the Battle of Bemis Heights, on October 7. These battles were fought between British General John Burgoyne's forces and the American troops commanded by General Horatio Gates, with significant contributions from General Benedict Arnold and other key leaders. Despite ultimately achieving victory, the American forces faced numerous challenges that tested their resolve, strategy, and ability to adapt. Understanding these challenges provides insight into how the Continental Army transformed from a disparate group of militias into a more cohesive fighting force capable of defeating a professional army. The challenges faced by American forces. 1. Logistical difficulties. One of the primary challenges faced by the American forces at Saratoga was logistical in nature. The Continental Army struggled with issues related to supply lines, transportation, and communication. Supply shortages. The American Army was often under-resourced. Food shortages were common, and soldiers frequently went without adequate rations. This scarcity was exacerbated by British control over key supply routes and towns. Transportation issues. The rugged terrain of upstate New York posed significant challenges for moving troops and supplies. The dense forests and swamps made it difficult to transport artillery and other essential equipment to the front lines. Communication breakdowns. Effective communication was crucial for coordinating troop movements and strategies. However, delays in messages due to difficult terrain and lack of reliable messengers hindered timely decision-making. 2. Leadership and command structure. The leadership structure within the Continental Army also presented challenges. while General Gates was appointed to command at Saratoga. There were underlying tensions among various leaders. Internal rivalries. The Continental Army was composed of various factions with differing views on strategy and command. Tensions existed between Gates and Arnold, who had differing opinions on tactics that could have undermined unity. Inexperience. Many officers within the Continental Army lacked formal military training or experience in large-scale battles. This inexperience made it challenging to execute complex maneuvers effectively against a seasoned British army. 3. Morale issues. Maintaining high morale among troops was another significant challenge for American forces during the Battle of Saratoga. Fatigue. The soldiers had been engaged in continuous fighting leading up to Saratoga, which resulted in physical exhaustion. Many troops had been away from home for extended periods, leading to homesickness and low spirits. Casualties. The losses sustained during earlier engagements weighed heavily on soldiers' morale, even though they achieved victories at places like Bennington. Each battle took its toll on their numbers and confidence. 4. Tactical challenges. The tactical environment at Saratoga posed unique challenges that tested American military strategies. Terrain utilization. While the Americans eventually took advantage of their knowledge of local terrain at Bemis Heights, initially they struggled to establish effective defensive positions against Burgoyne's well-trained troops. British tactical superiority. The British Army was known for its disciplined formations and tactics. Early engagements showed that Burgoyne's forces could maneuver effectively despite being outnumbered at times. 5. Reinforcement coordination. The coordination of reinforcements was critical during the battles at Saratoga, but proved challenging for various reasons. Delayed reinforcements. Although American forces received reinforcements from surrounding areas, delays in their arrival impacted strategic planning. For instance, General Clinton's failure to support Burgoyne when he advanced toward Albany left him isolated. Militia integration. Integrating local militia units into the Continental Army posed its own set of challenges. These militias often had different levels of training and commitment compared to regular troops, complicating command structures during engagements. 6. Weather conditions. Weather played a significant role in shaping the conditions under which both armies fought. Rain and mud. Heavy rains during late September and early October created muddy conditions that hampered movement for both sides. Poor weather affected troop morale and logistics as well as artillery effectiveness. Cold temperatures. As autumn progressed, temperatures began to drop significantly, leading to concerns about frostbite among soldiers who were not adequately equipped for cold weather conditions. 7. Public support and funding. Securing public support for the war effort remained a challenge throughout the Revolutionary War. Funding shortages. The Continental Congress struggled with funding military operations due to limited resources and reliance on state contributions. This financial instability directly impacted troop supplies and morale. Public sentiment. While many supported independence, there were still loyalist sentiments within certain regions that complicated recruitment efforts for local militias. Overcoming challenges. Despite these numerous challenges, American forces managed to achieve victory at Saratoga through a combination of determination, strategic adaptations, and effective leadership. 1. Strategic adaptation. American commanders adapted their strategies based on battlefield realities. Defensive positioning. At Bemis Heights, General Gates chose an advantageous high ground that allowed American artillery to dominate key approaches while providing cover against British advances. Utilization of local knowledge. American troops leveraged their familiarity with local terrain to set ambushes and engage British forces effectively in skirmishes rather than traditional open field battles. 2. Effective leadership. Leadership played a crucial role in overcoming challenges. Benedict Arnold's leadership. Arnold's aggressive tactics during critical moments bolstered American resolve. His willingness to take risks inspired his troops even when facing overwhelming odds. Unity among officers. Despite initial rivalries between Gates and Arnold, they ultimately collaborated effectively during key moments in battle, demonstrating that unity could be forged even amid tension. 3. Mobilizing public support. American leaders worked tirelessly to rally public support. Propaganda efforts. News of victories like those at Bennington helped galvanize support for the war effort while boosting recruitment efforts across New England states. Militia engagements. Local militia units were mobilized effectively as reinforcements arrived from nearby towns, demonstrating that community support could bolster military strength significantly. 4. International recognition. The victory at Saratoga ultimately led to international recognition. French alliance. Following this decisive victory, France recognized America's potential as an ally against Britain, leading to formal treaties that would provide critical military assistance throughout the war effort. In conclusion, while the Battle of Saratoga represented a significant victory for American forces against British troops in 1777, it was not without its formidable challenges. Logistical difficulties, leadership tensions, morale issues, tactical complexities, reinforcement coordination problems, adverse weather conditions, public support struggles, all played crucial roles in shaping this pivotal engagement's outcome. However, through strategic adaptation, effective leadership collaboration among officers like Gates and Arnold, mobilization efforts that engaged local communities, securing international recognition, Americans demonstrated resilience against daunting odds, a testament to their commitment towards achieving independence from British rule. As we reflect upon these challenges faced by our forebears during this critical moment in history, let us remember their courage. Determination paved way not just for victory at Saratoga but also laid groundwork upon which future generations would build an enduring nation founded upon ideals: freedom, democracy, justice, a legacy we continue strive uphold today. Battle of Saratoga, and specifically how the terrain of Saratoga influenced the outcome of this critical engagement in 1777. The battles fought at Saratoga were not merely contests of arms. They were shaped significantly by the geographical features of the land, which played a decisive role in determining the strategies employed by both the American and British forces. Over the next several moments, I will explore the various aspects of the terrain that influenced the battle, its implications for military strategy, and how these factors ultimately contributed to an American victory. Introduction. The Battle of Saratoga consisted of two main engagements: the First Battle of Saratoga, or Freeman's Farm, on September 19th, and the Second Battle of Saratoga, or Bemis Heights, on October 7th. These battles marked a turning point in the American Revolutionary War, as they represented a significant defeat for British General John Burgoyne's forces and a crucial victory for the Continental Army under General Horatio Gates. The terrain of Saratoga is characterized by its rolling hills, dense forests, and strategic waterways. These geographical features not only dictated troop movements but also influenced the effectiveness of artillery, visibility on the battlefield, and overall military tactics. Understanding how these elements played into the hands of the American forces is essential to appreciating why Saratoga is often regarded as a turning point in the war. The Terrain of Saratoga geographic overview. Saratoga is located in upstate New York along the Hudson River Valley. The area is marked by rolling hills. The landscape consists of a series of hills and valleys that provide both cover and vantage points for troops. Dense forests, thick woods surround much of the battlefield, which can obscure visibility and complicate troop movements. Waterways. The proximity to rivers like the Hudson was crucial for supply lines and troop movements. These features created a complex battlefield environment that both sides had to navigate carefully. Key terrain features Bemis Heights. This elevated position provided a natural defensive stronghold for American forces. The heights allowed American artillery to dominate key approaches to their position while providing cover from British attacks. Freeman's Farm. The open fields at Freeman's Farm were critical during the first engagement. This area allowed for maneuvering but also exposed troops to direct fire from opposing forces. Wooded areas. The dense forests surrounding Bemis Heights favored American sharpshooters and light infantry who excelled in woodland combat. These areas provided cover for ambushes and surprise attacks against British formations. Defensive works. Under Polish engineer Tadeusz Kosciuszko's direction, Americans constructed fortifications at Bemis Heights that enhanced their defensive capabilities. These earthworks included trenches and breastworks that protected troops from British artillery fire. Challenges posed by terrain. While the terrain offered advantages to American forces, it also presented challenges that had to be navigated effectively. 1. Logistical difficulties. Supply lines. The rugged terrain complicated supply routes for both armies. The Americans had to ensure that their supplies reached them through difficult paths while denying similar access to Burgoyne's forces. Movement restrictions. The dense forests and uneven ground made it difficult for heavily equipped British troops to maneuver effectively compared to their more mobile American counterparts. 2. Visibility issues obscured sightlines. The thick woods limited visibility on both sides, making it difficult for commanders to assess troop positions accurately. Ambush opportunities. While this obscurity hindered British formations, it provided opportunities for American sharpshooters to launch surprise attacks from hidden positions. 3. Terrain familiarity. Local knowledge. American forces were often more familiar with the local terrain than British troops. This knowledge allowed them to exploit natural features effectively during combat. Utilization of natural cover. Americans used their understanding of the landscape to establish defensive positions that maximized their strengths while minimizing exposure to enemy fire. Strategic implications of terrain. The terrain at Saratoga influenced military strategy significantly. 1. Defensive positioning. General Horatio Gates recognized the importance of holding high ground at Bemis Heights. By establishing strong defensive works there, he could leverage artillery against advancing British troops while minimizing direct assaults on his lines. The decision to fortify Bemis Heights was pivotal. It provided a commanding view over key approaches and allowed for effective artillery placement. Terrain utilization. As fighting continued into late afternoon, Morgan's sharpshooters began using wooded areas effectively to launch ambushes against advancing British columns. This tactic disrupted Burgoyne's planned maneuvers and forced him into a more defensive posture despite having initially gained territory. Second Battle of Saratoga, Bemis Heights, on October 7, 1777. Burgoyne attempted another assault against fortified American positions at Bemis Heights. American defensive strategy. Gates' forces had established strong defensive works on high ground that provided significant advantages over Burgoyne's advancing troops. Arnold's leadership became crucial as he recognized vulnerabilities in British formations, attempting flanking maneuvers through dense woods. Counterattacks. Arnold led aggressive counterattacks against British positions that exploited terrain advantages, using wooded areas for cover while launching assaults on enemy flanks. As fighting intensified throughout October 7, Burgoyne's forces became increasingly disorganized due to casualties sustained from American sharpshooters positioned strategically within forests. British withdrawal. Ultimately overwhelmed by coordinated American assaults combined with effective use of terrain features like high ground and wooded cover, Burgoyne was forced into retreat, a decision that culminated in his surrender 10 days later on October 17. In conclusion, the Terrain of Saratoga played an instrumental role in shaping both strategy and outcomes during this pivotal battle in 1777. From its rolling hills and dense forests providing natural defenses for American forces to logistical challenges faced by Burgoyne's army navigating unfamiliar landscapes, the geographic features fundamentally influenced decisions made by commanders on both sides. The successful utilization of these terrain advantages allowed American forces not only to achieve victory but also altered perceptions regarding their capability against one of history's most formidable military powers, the British Empire. As we reflect upon this critical moment in our history, let us remember how geography can shape warfare outcomes. It serves as a reminder that understanding one's environment can be just as important as sheer numbers or firepower when striving for success on battlefields across time.